financial problems, elder law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by Thav Gross. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Good morning. Welcome to Law and Reality. This show is going to be about taxes, and it's going to be the inside look at solving a tax problem. Good morning, David Einstandig.
Good morning, Ken. It's always nice to see you.
Brian Small.
Good morning, Ken. A pleasure to be here. Taxes.
Even though we're talking taxes and Jenny's on vacation today, we're going to still talk about taxes because tax time is upon us. April 18th is looming close, and I thought we would develop some issues, but with a different twist on looking at taxes.
Well, here's the tip of the day, though, for your taxes. Noting that how close it is to April 18th, if you haven't seen your accountant or don't know how to prepare your taxes yourself, please file an extension.
That's a good suggestion. It's always
even if you're going to get it done on time, file an extension just to be safe.
So you want to cover that so that the later part of the show where I put in the outline the importance of filing your return on time and filing an extension, I guess we don't need to cover that anymore.
So it's time for announcements.
So for a change on the show, Brian has gone off outline, and now David wants to do outline. Okay. But it's okay because it's early in the morning. I'm a flexible guy, and we're just going to go with the flow.
I'm looking at Stretch Armstrong here.
There was a great article in the Wall Street Journal just a couple of weeks ago on fascinating facts about the IRS, and I just want to share a couple of them. 47% of the people, less than half who call the IRS, ever get through to talk to a live person.
That's the second highest. It's the second highest percentage. Do you know what the first highest one is?
What's that?
Comcast.
I was going to say it's got to be Comcast.
97% of the people that call Comcast can't hang on to the prompt.
I guess that means for all the Comcast viewers of this show, we've probably been blacked out.
Actually, do I know what the trick is? You hit the Spanish button.
And then you get somebody.
Because they always speak English.
Hola. ¿Qué tal?
They always speak English.
No want to pay my bill. On the IRS, they did say that they've added staff during tax season, so 70% of the people get through during tax season. But it's like, I guess there's a positive to that, though. It's like when you're going to call IRS, do you really want to talk to them? You're feeling as though you're trying to be responsible. You dial the number, you wait, you're on hold for a half hour, you go, oh, shucks, and you hang up the phone and decide to forget about it.
Well, think about it this way.
Because the battery on your phone dies.
Think about it this way. What could they possibly be asking the IRS?
Assistance in filling out the forms is what it comes down to.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a difficult thing. 200 is the number of IRS employees that are under the age, that are 25 and under. That's down from 650 last year. So chances are, if you do get through to talk to someone, you're not going to be talking to someone between the ages of 18 and 25. I'm not sure that is a bad thing necessarily. 98% is the percentage of people that, if the IRS is withholding taxes on their from their paycheck, that file their return and comply. Now that's not a surprise. If you get a W-2 and your taxes are withheld, it would make sense that you file your return. But the percentage of people that are self-employed, where there's no withholding or reporting, compliance drops to around 50%. That, to me, is a remarkably low number.
You mean compliance and just the fact of filing?
Filing the returns. Well, they didn't really define it, but I think it's filing. I don't think it's just filing and paying. 4 million. IRS stopped 4 million fraudulent tax returns last year before paying refunds. We only have 300 million people.
There's 122 million taxpayers in the United States. I just looked it up.
Okay, so 4 divided by 122. Because I was going to say we only have 300 million people in the United States.
I understand, but my kids are not filing tax returns.
4 into 122 is about 3%.
4
It's really difficult.
I'm sorry.
right?
I'm
know,
trying to
this
do
is
the
tough.
math.
Take a 4
Yep.
and then go with the division sign and put 122.
There
hit
you go.
Equal.
3.27%.
I didn't even need you. That percentage of
Can I
people
leave now?
filing fraudulent returns, that's insane. That's absolutely incredible. First of all, if you're going to be a fraudulent perpetrator, do you really want to take on the United States government as your victim? Don't you think that they have the resources, and if they get a hold of you, they're not going to let you go and say, okay, you can plead to petty larceny under $99? I don't think so. But that's incredible. As you know, we talked about it on a previous show. I was one of those victims. I had a return filed for me last year, so now I have to go through this procedure where you go through identity theft and you have to file manually for a couple of years. It's not a big deal.
Oh, you didn't get your refund?
Well, what's funny is someone applied for a refund from me. If they would have known, if they would have looked,
Red flag.
I'm 61 years old. I've never gotten a refund in all these years, and I've never filed. I've always filed on an extension. But
That's why yours got
what can you
caught.
say?
Yours went into the "you got to be kidding" category.
Absolutely. Reduction of work staff. Since the peak in 2010, 17,000 people have been laid off of the IRS.
Well, now, do you think that the cause of that is underfunding to the IRS, or is it because of efficiencies, alleged efficiencies of the computerized system, the fact that you now have to computer file if you see a CPA? I mean,
as I read about it, it's budget cuts. I mean, I think you could articulate that would be a reason for reduced number of, you could get by with less people doing the same functions that you were doing back 5 years ago, but they need those people arguably on the audit side, which is what we want to come to next.
No, they don't need more people on the audit side.
What is your chance of an audit? So the time, and there was a recent article by the IRS saying that the Inspector General is saying we need to focus more on the super rich. IRS spends, in the essence of the article, is IRS spends too much time and effort auditing people who make $200,000 to $400,000, and instead they should be looking at the people that are making $1 million and $5 million and up. And when you look at the numbers, it's pretty remarkable. 1.5% of tax returns with incomes between $200,000 and $400,000 are presently being audited. 12.1% of the returns with people of over incomes of $5 million are being audited. Now the difference is this. If you're working on an audit case, well, I'll give you the difference after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP. It's devastating, the effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross, our firm will solve your problem. Some fear the word bankruptcy, but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your savings, and more. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Simasco Law wants you to know that laws are changing. Today, the average cost of nursing home care is $85,000 a year. With proper planning, we can help protect your life savings and get you the Medicaid and nursing home benefits you deserve.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Simasco Law today.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Fav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Fav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. Welcome back. It's not time for announcements yet, David. Back to what we were talking about. So if you're in that 200 to 400,000 bracket where you're getting audited, the IRS generates about $605 an hour per hour on those audits compared to $4,545 on the big audits. So what that says is the Inspector General is making this theory that says we need to take our limited resources and focus on the 5 million and up category and downplay even the 2 to 400,000 category. It's a debate. It's an arguable issue, though, because one of the things that they point out in the articles is the fear of audit is one of the tax agency's best and cheapest tools to encourage compliance.
But their
so if all of a
policy,
sudden,
their policy is not. It's not to raise money. Their policy is to have 100% compliance. It's not the fear of having to pay. So you don't look at it and say, oh, we can make more money only focusing on the 5 million and plus. That is such a small subsection of the overall number of taxpayers.
I don't think they're getting that, though, but you're right. The goal, compliance, their goal is revenue. But
Yeah, but
compliance generates the revenue. If all of a sudden you undermine compliance because everyone thinks they're not going to get audited, then nobody's going to worry about it. Everyone's going to cheat, and then they'll generate less revenue. That's my point.
Yeah, but there were 4 million tax returns between 200,000 and 400,000 filed, and only 52,000 tax returns above 5 million.
But they still have limited number of people. That's what it comes down to. But
they also have computer audits that do a lot of this all by electronically.
Not when it comes to auditing a $5 million
No,
return.
I agree. You need a human being.
Maybe your $5 million return.
Oh, yeah, well.
What it really, but not Donald Trump's.
I was going to say, what $5 million return?
Here's the bigger point, is let's focus, because obviously we're not, 200, 400,000, the 5 million and up, we're not really concerned about it. What are the chances? But the essence of what this information is saying is, since 2010, 11 to now, the chances of audited for everybody have gone down. If you look at 2011, going to nolo.com, if you were in the 50 to 75%, 50 to 75,000 a year bracket, your chances were about 0.83% in 2011. In 2014, it's 0.5%. So your chances of being audited are relatively small. It's way less than 1% is what you got to keep in mind. So the fear of audit is out there, and nobody wants to go through it, but it's not that great of a fear. Now, overstate your charitable deduction by a tremendous amount of money, overstate your home deduction allowance, or eliminate all of your tax so that you're showing a zero return, then your chances of audit go up a bit. But now I want to shift gears. What if you do have a tax problem? How do you deal with it? And we're always talking about 2 types of problems. One is, the one that we focus a lot on the show, is I don't have the money to pay the tax. And the second one, which we don't cover that often, is IRS is auditing your return. And I want to take the rest of the show to develop both of them. Let's talk about I don't have the money. First things first, and this kind of goes to what you said at the beginning of the show. You got to file that return on time.
Absolutely.
No matter what happens, there's no reason to subject yourself to a 25% late filing penalty. It's a waste of money.
And
even if you don't have the money to pay.
So remind the viewers that it is 5% per month for every month that you are late in filing your return is the penalty. Up to 25%.
Which means right off the bat, if you decide not to file it on time, boom, you're at the 25% because you're not going to get it together within the next month. It'll take you a few to finally get it together. File, and if you're not ready on April 18th, file an extension on that day. It pushes you to October. It doesn't release your obligation to pay your tax on time, but it saves you the 25% penalty for not filing on time. There's another one that Brian runs into. By filing your return, you preserve your right potentially to file bankruptcy and discharge the income tax, whereas if the government files for you,
it's called a substitute for return when the government files for you. It's never dischargeable in bankruptcy. Most people don't sit there thinking about, well, I need to file my taxes because I'm going to file bankruptcy in 3 years.
but you never know.
But you
Brian,
need to make
typically,
sure that you're prepared.
How long does it take before the government will file a return for you?
That's an interesting question, and I've seen it happen as fast as a year later, and take as long as 4 or 5 years later. It depends on what's being reported to the government. If you're self-employed,
and not filing any returns.
There's actually a greater likelihood they're going to find you sooner than if you're sending W-2s, if you're a W-2 employee with withholdings, because they're getting their withholding, and so you're less likely to get that SFR early, but you're going to get it.
The bigger point on that, and I'm glad you asked that question, David, is people think if I don't send in the return, I don't give them any information, they won't find me, they won't know about the taxes that I owe. That's why the reason people don't file is they don't have the money, and they're thinking if I don't file the return, they won't be able to find me. It'll take them a while, but they will find you, and your anxiety will increase every single night a little bit
about it.
as you go through that period.
If you've got a bank account that has $1 of interest, you're getting a 1099 from the bank. The bank is reporting it to the government. So you may think that you're off the radar, but there's a file on you, and there's information. There's reporting, and the computer right off the bat picks it up in about 2 seconds because there's no corresponding
match,
no corresponding recipient.
That's a good point, David. All right, procedures that you have to resolve the tax: offer and compromise, determination of not being collectible, installment payment plans, discharge and bankruptcy. We've covered these a lot on the show. When we come back, I want you just to go through the discharge and bankruptcy, and then we're going to focus on what do you do if you're audited. We'll be back.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
A lifetime of hard work. If you're approaching retirement and don't have the right plan in place, you can lose your home, your investments, and your savings. And you didn't come this far to lose everything. Putting a solid strategy in place with Simasko Law legally protects your assets as well as your wishes. Since a will doesn't cover you medically or financially, Simasko Law goes beyond ordinary asset management protection to safeguard everything you have.
How much can you afford to lose? Call Simasko Law today.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. It's devastating. The effects of debt and foreclosure on you and your family. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Some fear the word bankruptcy. but in reality, it's a strategy to save your home and to eliminate debt. If you're in financial trouble, timing is critical. You need to take action now. We've been saving homes and eliminating debt for over 33 years.
Call Fav Gross 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. David, guess what time it is?
We're done?
It's time for announcements. Remind our watchers to listen to us on Tuesdays, noon to 1 p.m. and 6 to 7 p.m. Law and Reality Live with Mildred Gaddis. That's on WCHB 1200 AM 99.9 FM. We've got 2 seminars coming up. The first one is called Go Away, Mr. Debtman. It's Wednesday, April 13th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. All of our seminars are always free. It focuses on all the avenues that we look to and pursue to minimize or eliminate debt so you can start saving money. In this seminar, we're building in my new 3-point plan to retirement as well, which we've talked about a little bit on a couple of the previous shows. That's 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, April 13th at our offices in Bingham Farms. And then on Wednesday, April 27th, 6 to 7:30 p.m., we have a seminar, Planning for Your Last 40 Years. Pat Simasko, our elder law expert.
Hold on a second. Go away, Mr. Debtman. It's catchy, it's unique, it's not necessarily fun.
Go away,
no,
Mr.
I didn't want you to do
Debtman.
that. And then the other one's called what?
Planning for Your Last 40 Years. It's more like the Dan Rather type of a topic. Planning for your last 40 years. This is a serious matter. Pat Simasko is joining us. He's going to talk about Medicaid planning for the nursing home, all the estate planning issues I'm going to cover from the standpoint if you're in your 40s and 50s, you're normal, what you need for an estate plan. Brian's going to be there talking about debt issues that you have when you're that age, and also focusing on how do you address your children's debt problems if you're talking about leaving them any money by way of an inheritance.
And I promise not to sing.
You know what I'm thinking about?
You
know what I'm thinking about right
myself.
now? I'm thinking about, is there some guy I could hire to show up in the middle of the seminar and say, I'm Mr. Debtman, just to throw you off? I would never do that.
Like the guys that are on the street corner when there's a sale and they're dressed up in the big outfits.
Sandwich,
like Gumpy or
sandwich
something.
sign.
Yeah, we need a Mr. Debtman to show up. That seminar is 6 to 7:30 p.m. To sign up for the seminars, go to thavgross.com or lawandreality.com. You just click the buttons, you sign up that way, or you can do it the old-fashioned way. Just call our offices at 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-4357. Numbers up on the screen, and you can sign up and register that way. We also have 3 free reports on those websites, Business Formation and Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan. There's 14 programs we've pulled together that have contact information and parameters of the programs for seed capital for new businesses. It's the only report that pulls together all this information into one concise report. Of course, it's free. We also have the Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasko and How to Save Your Home with Regulation X, The Hidden Secrets. That's to save your home from foreclosure. I want to thank our sponsors, Thav Gross and Simasko Law. Now, back to the tax problem. So right before we went to break, I said there's 4 ways. Offering compromise, we've talked about. Determination of currently not collectible. If you're making so little income that you go in and you don't even have to qualify for an installment payment, sometimes you can be determined for a period of time that IRS will leave you alone and you pay nothing. And that determination goes for 2 years. And one of the things Brian and we were talking about at the break is people sometimes get into that status but don't realize in a couple years later the circumstance may change.
So they disregarded the first word. Currently. Yeah.
Right.
It doesn't go forever, and what happens is once you get yourself landed back on your feet, the IRS wants their money. And the opportunity exists during that currently not collectible phase to determine how you can eliminate your tax debt. You need to be talking to an attorney or a tax professional to deal with the issues of, can I do an offer? When should I do an offer to get rid of all of my tax debt? Can I file bankruptcy on this tax debt? People think that you can't file bankruptcy, but the reality is that income taxes are dischargeable after a period of time. There's a 3-year, 2-year, 240-day rule.
And on that rule, if you want to learn more about it, go on to YouTube and put in Law and Reality Tax Problems, and you'll see Brian talking about that in prior shows, because I don't want to go through that now because we only have about 3 minutes left, and I want to talk about audits. And we'll come back to that at a later show. But audit strategy. First thing's this: if you're getting audited by the IRS, you need representation. Now the question is, what level of representation do you need? And it depends. If you have an audit where you know going into the audit you have all of your documents, that you haven't fudged your deductions in any great way, and that you've reported your income, your exposure on that audit right off the bat is minimal because you have complied and you just need to show the IRS auditor that. In that case, let your accountant who did the tax return go in, gather your receipts, provide the proof that you have, and the audit should come out okay. On the other hand, not everybody is in that situation when they get audited. Sometimes they get the audit notice and they say to themselves, oh shucks, and they're saying, I'm really worried about the fact that I didn't report all my income or I grossly overstated my expenses. That's a more serious problem that you need a greater level of representation.
And it also could come about, Ken, we've seen this with some small businesses. It's an issue that they get audited on that is just not their expertise. For example, we've seen some significant dollar audits for a small business with how inventory is being treated in the IRS that causes them to incur a lot of tax liabilities. That's not something that you could go in and handle yourself or deal with yourself. It's a little bit more intricate. So we have that, as well as if there's exposure on an underreporting or failure to report.
Absolutely. And when you're in that situation, you're also subject to massive penalties if the IRS makes a determination that you've really abused the process. Good representation can minimize negative results by creativity and working the system. I don't want to sound that sarcastic about it, but the system is one in which if you're in trouble on the debt from the standpoint of the audit, if you go through the procedures, you have a better chance of coming up with a better result. But then sometimes that means you have to take the case to tax court. You have to follow the procedures that you're looking at in order to protect you. There are procedures. The important message for people to get is, if it's the routine audit, you need a routine response. If you're not in a routine situation, you need to take greater protection to look for more creative ways to minimize your exposure. We can do that for you. You can also, there are other, the important thing is to know you can't just walk in on your own. You're walking into an area where you don't have the level of expertise and knowledge, and you need a buffer from a good representation to help you.
Nor can you run and aggravate the IRS and the Attorney General and the auditors, and that's not going to help either.
We'll be back next week. Remember, file those returns or go on an extension by April 18th.